Let's finish up our head movements. Here's where we're going to add some neck movement. Alright, we're going to make it subtle. And this is also where the simple is more principle will come into play, because we won't be animating the neck in all directions, just in the direction that we need to, the translate X or side to side movement. See, the simple is more principle depends on the certain shot that you're animating. Let's say we're in a production and we're given this front view shot to animate the face in, and we're told to animate the head as we are doing now. Okay, there wouldn't be need to animate in the translate Z or the front to back movement unless the shot called for the character to be doing a certain movement in that direction. But if the movement's going to be too subtle to even notice, there's no need to add it. Alright, so this will actually save us some time in animating. So let's begin. We'll bring back our NURBS curves and we'll select our head control. Alright, and just like the rotate X and the Z, we'll be adding the anticipation first and then the follow through movement. And how do we figure out this movement? Well, simple. We'll just move the neck in the direction that the head is turning in. And this isn't always the case. Let's say, for example, your character's trying to dodge something. Even though he's looking in this direction, maybe he'll translate his head in the opposite direction. Okay? But because this is a casual head turn, we'll just go ahead and translate the neck in the direction that the head is turning. So let's begin. Alright, we'll add our anticipation first. And since our character is going to be turning his head first to his right, we'll go ahead and translate the head now to the right. And before we start keying any further, what we can do is go into our perspective and graph view, because notice how our timeline is getting a little bit cluttered with keys. So we could just use our graph editor to help us focus on the keys that we're setting. So let's select the translate X and hit F to frame this region. Okay, and this will help us to see a cleaner view of our translate X keys that we're about to be setting. So let's add our follow through now. We'll scrub through, and we could go to about frame 11 now and move the head in the direction of the character's left. And we could also use the direction that the character's head is turned in right now as reference for when laying our translate X keys, because we did rotate his head to the left in the Z, so we can just go ahead and use that as a helper or as a guide to figure out the movement of our translate X as well. Okay, so we'll scrub through to see the movement we're getting. Okay, now let's continue the follow through, so we can go to frame 23 now, and now that our character's head is finally rotated to his right, can now translate the head slightly to the right. Remember, we want to keep it subtle. Okay. Alright, so we can scrub through to see the movement we're getting now. Okay, and it's subtle, but it's still adding to our animation. Alright. Let's go ahead and work on the next head turn. We could also hit F in our graph editor so we could see our curve in more detail. And let's go ahead and add our next anticipation on about frame 43. So since our character is going to be looking to his left now, we can actually translate the neck to the left, to his left, slightly. Okay, now we'll add the follow through movement, so we could go to about frame 50, and we'll move the neck to the right slightly, like so. Alright, and to finish the follow through, we can go to about frame 63, and now move the character's neck to his left, the direction that the head's turning in. Alright, and now we'll work on our last head turn, so let's go ahead and scroll on down, and we can add our anticipation on frame 88. And remember, the character's head is rotating back to the right, okay, but not as much as what we had in the beginning of our animation, so we want to keep that in mind when wanting to animate the translate Z, or translate X, excuse me. So we won't be moving the head as much as we did initially in the beginning of our animation. So since he is moving to the right, let's go ahead and translate the head slightly to the right. Okay, and we also want to keep in mind the speed that he's doing that in, and it's not going to be as much as the other head turns. The speed's not going to be as fast, so we'll keep that in mind as well. Alright, now we'll add our follow through on about frame 96, and we'll translate the head now to his left slightly. And for the follow through after, let's go to about frame 107, and we'll now translate the character's neck to the right, like so. Okay, and to finish the follow through, let's go to our last frame, and we'll translate the character's neck slightly to the left, since we already moved in the right. Not much. Alright, there we go, and we can check out our F curves too. Okay, and check out the animation that we're getting. And if we wanted to, we could even tweak some of these keys. So let's say if our character's neck is moved a little bit too much to the to his left in this region of the animation, what we can do is select all of these keys, hold shift and middle mouse button, click and drag down slightly. Alright, and notice what that's doing. That's changing the influence that these keys have. Alright, it's allowing us to fix our movement that we're getting in our animation. Okay, let's see. Let's go into our perspective and let's see the movement that we're getting. Alright, let's actually do a play blast, and we'll hide our NURBS curves. And we'll go up to Window, Play Blast. And I'm just going to pause the video. Here's the Play Blast. Alright, so those subtle neck movements really added to our animation, and we could also see that we really didn't need to key in the Translate Z at all. Okay, so with that we have completed our head and neck movements, and if we go ahead and stop this and minimize it and bring up our final result, we can see our progress. Okay, and all we have left to do now is the eyes and the blinks. So that's what we're going to work on in the next lesson.